Hello crafters, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today I'd like to share with you a card I've made, and I'm going to make another card with you, but I'm going to make a moving card. So how did this start? I spotted this die, this one here, of our little swinging girl on YouTube, and I thought, wow, that is so cool. So I wanted to try and buy it. I'm in Ireland. It was available in America, but to get it anywhere, the UK or Europe, was really hard. So I kind of mentioned it to a friend of mine, a crafty friend called Kay Rogers, who is an amazing paper crafter. Some of the cards that Kay makes are just beautiful, and I reckon she should be a YouTube demonstrator, but she just keeps saying, no, that's not for me, Simone. Anyway, Kay had this die, and she said to me, Simone, if you want it, I'll send it over to you. So that's what she did. And you can see here, it makes a beautiful lady on a swing. I think she's so elegant. So when I got these, I wanted to have a play, because what I normally do when I get dies is I play around with it, see how it works, how things go together, and then, you know, I make a card. So this was my have a go. And it turned out so beautiful. I'm definitely going to have this in my stash to give to someone on their birthday. So all these dies make up this beautiful lady and the swing. And they also make up the flowers that you can see here that I have on it. Now I've added some bling to my flowers and around my card, but you do get little centers that you can add in. And I did add them into some of these ones here. So with this card, and there's lots of cards using these dies which are of a similar vein, I did some ink blending. I used my Stormy Sky for my blue, and I used my Twisted Citron for my green grass. So it looks, you know, it gives the, I didn't just want her swinging midair on the card. I've added a little bit of some tattered rose to my skin colour. The card stock that I've used here is Little Card, and it's a kind of a creamy colour card. And so the tattered rose really does pick out the shadows and shading on our little lady here. I've used some Spectrum Noir sparkle pen on my flowers as well as on my lady's hair. I'm not too sure if the camera is picking that up. It's a very dull day here in Ireland, so I've all the lights on. But yeah, I love it. My sentiment on the inside and the outside are made to surprise, but you can use whatever you have in your stash. So I hope this card has inspired you if you have this die. The papers I've used here are the Craft Consortium ink drops in rose. So I've used that for the dress and for the hat. But I want to inspire you by making a tent fold card. So my tent fold card is going to be 6 by 6. It's going to open up, but not open fully. So if you can imagine, it'll be in this orientation. It'll have a piece in here if you're not familiar with a tent fold. So it'll only open so far. And then inside, I want to put my lady swinging. So if you're interested in making a tent fold card using the breezy swing dies and doing something a little different from the norm, well then sit back, relax and enjoy my video. So what you're going to need to make my tenfold swinging lady or my breezy swing card, you'll need a piece of cardstock measuring. You can make it 12 by 6, and that's generally what people will do for a 6 by 6 card base, but I've got 6 by 6 envelopes in my stash, so I want to use my A4 cardstock. Now an A4 cardstock is 11 3/4 by 8 1/4 here in Europe. It's differently sized if you're in America, but I want to make my card so it's nearly 6 by 6. My card base is going to be 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. So what I've done is I've taken my 11 3/4 and I've cut it down, this piece, to 5 7/8. I've scored it at 5 7/8 and then I've burnished that fold, and that'll give me a top folding card like so. Now, onto that, I have a piece of coloured cardstock, and this piece is 5 5/8 by 5 5/8. Now, you'll need two. That's what I'm using, two pieces. But this one is going to be on the outside, and then I'm going to have the other one on the back, because I want a place to put my sentiment. So I'm going to have this blue piece here on the back. On top of that, then I'm going to put a white piece, and this is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to stamp a sentiment on this before I attach that, and I'll do that with you later. Inside my card, because we're going to die cut out an aperture here, I'm going to have a piece inside. Now, I have a piece of pattern paper. This piece of pattern paper is from the 6 by 6 All Occasions paper pack from Made to Surprise. And I have cut this down to 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to center it in there. But you can make this 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. You could do it 5 5/8 by 5 5/8, whatever size you like, but I just happen to cut it down to this size. So we're going to also need to cut an aperture into this. So I will open up my card base like this, and I'm going to use these dies that I have on my stash. They're a pointed arch, and I love these. I got these on Amazon. I leave links down below to products I'm using where I can find links. So I'm going to die cut out my arch. Now you can do this in any shape you want. You could put a rectangle, you could cut that by hand using a trimmer or a craft knife. You could do a circle, an oval, whatever you like, but I'm going to do it using my arches. Now, I have glued down this top piece. My coloured cardstock is 220 GSM. My card base is 300 GSM. I'm going to use my Big Shot die cutting machine, and I find if I roll it forward and back, it's going to cut through no problem for me. So that's what I'm going to do. If you're worried that it's not going to cut through for you, then take your coloured cardstock, die cut that out, then put your die onto your white card base, and you can line them up and do it that way. But I find it easy, just as easy this way. So I'm going to die cut out. I'm going to try and make sure that I have the same amount on each side. So I'll have a look at that. So 1 inch there and a little bit more. So it's just over an inch, about 1 1/8. So I'll just lift that up. We'll try that again. So again, this needs to be, well, that's 1 1/8 there. No, it's just in between. So it's an inch and 1/16. So I mean, you know, just whatever die you're using, just wiggle it side to side till you get your measurement. That looks about right there. Now, and I have got a little bit at the bottom here, and having my cardstock doubled up will give the front, it'll give it strength. Now you could put some acetate behind this if you wanted to strengthen this panel, but I don't think I'll need it. So I'm going to bring this over to my die cutting machine. I'll place my plate on like so. So the end of my plate is just there where my score line is. And that way then I won't put any marks on this, the back side, but it will be covered up with our pattern paper and our piece of sentiment. So I'll put that through there, and then I'll come back to you and I'll show you what we're doing next. So now my piece has more or less cut out. There's just a little bit there, and I'll just bring my craft knife in and cut that away. I think the plate, the base plate on my die cutting machine, I need to change it, so there was a little bit of warping there, but as you can see, it literally took it out most of the way, so I'm delighted with that now, and I can keep that and use that on another card. And I know in the video this looks blue, but it's more of a green teal than a blue. It's not actually getting the right color. You'll see that, I think, better in the photographs. So I have that on there. The next thing I want to do is take my tent piece, which is this. Now I have this so it comes up a ½ an inch on one side, and I need to take this down to a1/4 of an inch. So this piece, which is my tent fold, is 5 3/4 by 2 3/4, and you're going to score it at a ½ an inch and at 1 1/2 and 2 1/2, and that'll give you a 1/4 inch tab on one side. And I'm going to just take that down a 1/4 inch because I want it to fit behind the front of our little panel. So now when we fold this, and I'm going to do it as a valley and a mountain and a valley, like that. So we have a W shape, and one side is longer than the other. I'm going to put this shorter tab to the front here so you won't see it. If I turn it over, it might make it easier for you. So that'll go over here, and you can see it'll sit down there just before the bottom edge, and it'll just hide behind the bottom of our panel there. And then this piece will then glue onto the back piece here, and that will give us our tent fold. Now I'm going to burnish this piece really well, just so that it folds and sits nicer. And then we can glue these two pieces together, and I'm going to do that next. So we have a mechanism that needs to go in here, and I'm going to show you now what you need for that. So the mechanism for our swing part is really easy. I have this piece here. It's a piece of 2 inches by a ½ an inch. I've scored it at a half, 1 and 1 1/2, and then I've done a valley, a mountain, and a valley fold, so it pinches in like that. Now it's a W shape, and if you bring the middle together like that, it'll give you this piece with little wings. What I want you to do with the piece we've squeezed together, we're going to punch a little hole. Now I've used my X punch, and there's 3 different punches in this piece, and I've used the smallest one in my X. But whatever you have, use your punch a hole through the 2 of them, and use brads that you have that go with this. So I think this is a 5mm punched hole, and I have little brads, these little ones that I'm going to sit in there. So this one will sit in there and it won't fall through. You see, that's all you want, is a little brad that's going to go in there. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue to this piece so it can be drying while I go through the rest of them. So I'll add that in there, pinch it together, give it a little minute. Now this piece, we're going to add glue onto these 2 tabs, and it's going to sit in here in the middle. So these will come down like this, they'll go in there, they'll be pinched in, and they'll stick in there. So the back one will stick to the back of this piece, and then the front one will stick on here to this piece. Now you can see this is hanging over, don't panic. We've got our piece here which we've embossed. This is a piece that I've embossed using a Made to Surprise embossing folder. It's all the leaves, and then what I've done is I fussy cut around them. So you might have a leaf embossing folder or a leaf stamp. You can stamp and colour and then fussy cut around the edge. That's going to go over. Now I did think I wanted this piece in here like so, and our swing then would hang down behind that. So this piece would be stuck on to this. But I actually had it sitting on earlier like that. And I thought, you know what, I like that. I prefer that. So I'm going to stick this on the front. So when this piece goes in and this little tab is being glued in, this tab here will get glued and it'll stick onto this as well. So it'll have great support. It'll be anchored in there, no problem. So onto this, I have this piece. Now, this little piece here is 3/4 of an inch wide by 1 inch long. I took my rounding over punch and I rounded over. So it was like that. I rounded over the edges. And then again, I punched a little hole the same as size as this piece here. It's going to sit in there like so. I'm going to take my brad and I'm going to pop it through. And I'm using teeny ones, but you don't have to. So my brad will go through this piece and through this piece. Now, top tip, when you're putting a brad in and you want it to swing, take your pokey tool, which I have here, and open the legs of the brad over the pokey tool. So when you, or your split pin, whatever you want to call it, open up your split pin and then round them over the actual pokey tool. We want them to close over, but we want a little bit of gap because that gives momentum. That'll allow our little piece to swing, and that's what we want. We want our swing to be able to swing, so that'll do that. So they're pushed over, but just the width of the tip of my pokey tool will keep them from sliding out. And then I have this piece here. Now this piece measures again 1 3/4 by 1/2 inch, and I've rounded over. Just, you can do both, you know, top and bottom if you want, but really you just need to do one, and I've just done that. So when this piece is sliding, it's got this rounded over edge, so when it's in here like so, this piece will move up like that, it'll swing. So this will get stuck on here like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue on, I'm going to add a little bit of glue here. And then I'm going to stick this piece on, and you want to do your best to center it so it has the same amount on the left and the right. And this is our little mechanism, and we didn't use a die for this or anything. And I'll just make sure it's even on the back. And if you want, you can get a ruler and have a look. So there should be 1/2 inch on one side and 1/2 inch on the other, more or less. You don't have to be precious about it. Now, so that'll be our swing part. So if you can imagine, our little strings here are going to be stuck onto this part. So when this piece moves up and down, our swing will move over and back. So this piece now needs to be stuck in here. So I'm going to fold over our little wings like that. I'm going to add a little bit of glue onto this one. And I'm going to add a bit of glue onto this one. And then I'm going to tuck them in here, and I'm going to go into the middle. Now I know I've used an arched die, and sure, you're not going to see that arch, but I don't mind because the piece, our greenery, is going to go over the top, so I don't mind that. So I'm just going to make sure, let's see if you can see in there. You can see one tab is glued to the back and the other tab is glued there to the front. So I need to glue this down onto here now, but I don't want to add any glue where my mechanism is. You can see there. So I'm going to look at it now. Right, I'm going to add glue along here, and I don't want to come down more than that, about that amount, so about 3/4 of an inch. And I think I gave you the measurement for my leafy piece, and if I didn't, I'll put that up on the screen now. Editing Simone will add in any measurements that I haven't given you, because I'm kind of making this on the fly. I'm doing this as I'm crafting. So I'm going to glue that down in there like that. I hope you can see. And then I'm just going to take my pokey tool and I'm going to press that up against my little tab. I want to be sure that that's glued on. So I have my piece in there and you can see my mechanism, and it moves pretty easy. So I'm delighted with that. Now I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to assemble our little lady on the swing. So I'm going to go through all the pieces that I have with you for that. I'll put that over there. That can be drying, and we look at our pieces. So I have them all here. I've die cut out the flowers, and I have die cut out all my pieces for the dress and for the body, etc. And I have them all here. So I've taken some pattern paper from my stash, and this is a Craft Sensations paper pad that I'm using. It's one I have in my stash for a long time, but you can use whatever you have in your stash. I've taken some of my orange inks, and I've just ink blended around it to give it a bit of definition. So we have two pieces here, and they'll sit on like so. And then I have I have my lady's head, I have my lady's hat. You get a little piece, this little piece here is this part of the die, and that goes across the brim of the hat like so. I have her legs, and the legs, you can see on this one there's a very light score line, and this leg here will sit over that like so, and we'll glue those together. I've also got her head part, her head and her neck, and then you also get another piece. These will be glued down together like so. And then this piece will tuck into the hair. There's a cut line here, and I don't know if you can see, but there's etched lines on this as well, showing you where this piece goes. And then we've got her two hands here. We've got our swing, and then the ropes of our swing. I've cut this out in white, and what I've done is I've put it onto a piece of acetate. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. My acetate is 4 inches long by 1/4 of an inch wide. It's a light acetate. It's just to give strength to the ropes of the swing, because I don't want them breaking. And you know, I think just to be safe to be sorry. And I glued them on using my Barely Art glue, and I have the two of those there like so, and they'll glue onto the top. Then I'll put a little piece of red tape onto these so that they'll glue on. So this, on our swing piece, we have two pieces, and I shall glue those together like so. There's a little score line here, and that shows you where your little lady's bottom goes. I think it goes this way, yeah. So those two pieces go on there. So one string will sit on there, and then the other one will sit on the other side like so. And you don't see this one because her dress is on over it. So I'm going to speed through everything now and glue everything together for Our Lady, and then we can start assembling. I do have my little piece of pattern paper that I cut out to go in the back, and I left that to go in after the mechanism goes on, just so that you know, the mechanism would be hid up there inside, because you know what people are like, they'll be looking to see, oh, I wonder how that works. So yeah, that'll go in there like that. So I'll pop that on there like so, and then we have a lovely background for Our Lady who'll be swinging around. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to assemble this, add that on, stamp onto my piece for the back and glue that on the back. And once I have that done, then I'll come back to you. So we have our little lady done now, and I want her to sit in there about up that much. So it's a matter of having a look yourself and seeing how far up or how far down you want her. But I can see with my card closed and my mechanism in there, I want her swinging. She's going to be in there like that. So I can see I need to take some of the excess off my swing, off the strings. So I'm just gonna cut them down to what I think is going to be right. So I can see where my mechanism is down here. So I know I'm good to go at cutting some off there. And now I need to add some red liner tape to my swing strings, so they'll attach to our mechanism piece at the bottom there. So once you're happy with the length of the strings or the rope of the swing, then add some double-sided adhesive. I like the red liner tape. I find that works brilliant. I don't like to use liquid adhesive with acetate. So now this is the second strip, and it should be the same as the bottom part of our mechanism. I added this in as I was crafting. So you'll know to take your piece, which you'll have rounded over the edges. I'll do that by hand now in a minute, and that'll sit in there, and it'll make it easier then for us to join the swings on. And I think it will give strength to Our Lady that's in there as well. Now look, if you just want to add a bit of red liner tape to the top of the swing ropes, then do that and stick it onto the mechanism. But I liked the idea of having this second bar, which is the same as the bar across in our mechanism. And then I can take that in and I can slide it in there. And I think that makes it a little bit less fussy by doing it that way. And once I'm happy with that, then I can add a little bit of pressure, give the glue time to dry, and then yeah, I think it'll look great. Now you could do this in coloured cardstock. You could do that little T-bar and the mechanism in maybe a pale blue colour so you don't see it, but I think this is going to work perfect and no dies required for it. So I'm just giving it a swing to see how it looks, and it's hard to show you in the video. You can see that she swings beautifully. If I kind of lay it back a bit, it's easier for you to see. There is great movement in this, and I think the trick to it is using your pokey tool behind the brads so it allows the brad legs, whatever you like to call them, it'll allow them to fold down and keep the piece in place, but I think it allows for the much better swing on your card. So now I have the piece to go behind my lovely lady, and I'm using my Collal glue to glue this piece in. And the reason for that is because when construction glue generally, it dries hard, so give strength to your piece, whereas our white glues, our quick grab glues, when they dry firmly. They really do bond well, but it's softer, you know. Well, that's what I found anyway. So I'm going to add some of my die cut flowers around the bottom left and right corner, and I'll put a white little strip in there. It'll just give me something to, you can see it there, it'll give me something to ground my flowers and my die cuts. And then once I've that done, I'll stamp my sentiment on the back. And yeah, I'm going to add a happy birthday die cuts to the top, but this is editing voiceover Simone, so you won't see it in the pictures, but I do die cut out a lovely little happy birthday, and it's the same color orange as her lovely dress. So yeah, let's go ahead now and assemble the rest of the card. I'm going to add some Spectrum Noir sparkle pen on some of the leaves up above, not all of them, just some of them, and I'll add that to her hair and to the flowers as well for a little bit of bling. So I'm going to go ahead now and just add some music in the background, and I'll get back to you once I'm done. So here we are with our finished card using these fabulous dies from Spellbinders. They're the Breezy Spring dies, and I just love this lady. Our card, she swings from side to side, and when it's actually when it's up this way, it's so cool. I really I love a 10-fold card. I can't leave it standing up because I've got some accent glaze drops on my flowers and on my card, and I hope you'll agree that this is a really cool way to use this lovely die set, giving it a mechanism that doesn't need dies and is really easy to use. So we have the card that we made today, and here is a card that I made previously. It's so easy to put together. It's just assembling your dies for your lady and your flowers and a little bit of ink blending in the background. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to leave it there, folks. I hope you've enjoyed my video. If you have, you might give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel Blonde Cards and Crafts and ding the bell. That way you'll be notified next time I post a new video. You can share your makes with me on my Facebook group called Your Cards and Crafts. And if you'd like to help support my channel, you can click the Super Thanks button down below. That will help my channel. So thanks for watching. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and bye for now.